Good afternoon, everyone. Thank God it's Friday. Come on in, come on in, come on in. TGIF. Y'all, it feels good to be back again with you for the Empower Her Experience podcast talk show. I know it's been a minute since I was with you all. I had surgery. And while I was out trying to heal, I lost someone very dear to me. It was a great loss. And so I myself had to practice what I preach. So I gave myself permission to take time, to heal physically and emotionally and all of those things. I also gave myself time to grieve as well. Hello, Miss Dee Dee. It's so good to see you. And I am so glad to be back. So, as usual, I got a good hot topic for you today. But thank y'all so much before I get started. Thank you so much for your prayers. Thank you for thinking of me. I thank you to all of you who reached out to me, who've been checking on me during this time. I really appreciate it. I am doing a lot better. Still in physical therapy, but thank God I'm walking. I'm walking without a boot, which is also amazing. I can actually wear 2 shoes now. So I'm grateful for that. Doing well, making progress. And so I'm thankful because God is so good. He is so good. And thank God that I'm doing well emotionally as well. We know grief is not linear. It's up and down, up and down. So, some days better than others. But guess what? God is still good. And I'm still here. And I still thank God for just being God. So I want to talk to you today. Got a good topic. Today we're going to talk about something that many people, but especially many strong women, struggle with. And this is about love with boundaries. Whew. That's a big word to some people. Love with boundaries, because sometimes love feels noble. Sometimes sacrifice. We over spiritualize sacrifice and sometimes endurance, just seeing how long we can do something. It feels like loyalty, but sometimes what we call love is actually enabling. Whew. Sometimes what we call love is actually enabling, and enabling is not empowering. This is Empower Her. So we're going to empower you today. We're going to talk about empowering other people and not enabling. But enabling is not empowering. So today we're going to unpack the difference between loving somebody and protecting them from the consequences that would help them to grow. Okay, so first we're going to start out by talking about what is enabling. What is enabling? Enabling, this is protecting someone from the natural consequences of their unhealthy behavior. It can sound like they've been through a lot. That's just how they are. I don't want to make it worse. I'll just handle it. And enabling, it removes the accountability for other people. It creates a dependency or a codependent relationship. It delays the growth of other people. It begins to build resentment because although someone is an enabler, they're eventually going to grow tired of the enabling behavior and they're going to become exhausted with helping, which is natural because why? It's a lot taking care of that one person. No, I always say that it's a lot taking care of just me. And then when you get caught up in a codependent relationship or friendship or family relationship, then it's exhausting. It can be exhausting. And here's a hard truth. When you remove the consequences from someone's by enabling them, you also remove their motivation to change. Why? Because people are not going to change if they don't see a need to change. If they're always going to be rescued, never have to deal with the consequences of their actions or their behavior, they're just going to keep doing it. Why? There's no motivation to change. Why? Because there are no consequences. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So even with love, you got to have boundaries. You must have boundaries, because love, why? Because love with boundaries, it says, I care about you, but I'm not going to continue to carry you. I support you, but I will not continue to save you. I forgive you, but I won't tolerate repeated harm or continuous re-injury, at your hands. Or I love you, but I'm no longer going to abandon myself. That is what love with boundaries means. And a lot of times people misinterpret what boundaries actually are. Boundaries are not rejection. Okay, just want to say that boundaries are not rejection, they are regulation. Why? Because when you have boundaries, you protect your peace, you protect your mental health, you protect your time, you protect your emotional energy and your standards. Okay, so it's not that they are. It's not that you're trying to build walls to keep people out. You're trying to regulate some things, because you got to do what you got to do to protect your energy, your peace, your mental, all of those things. But when you have, hi, Miss Sherry, when you have love without boundaries, then it becomes self-sacrifice. Wow. It becomes self-sacrifice. So you end up sacrificing yourself a lot of times because you don't have boundaries with other people. But love with boundaries shows a self-respect. That means you respect yourself enough to know that, you know what? Hey, I can't just keep doing this. I can't just keep allowing this. I've got to stop and say, hey, cuz love with boundaries says, I got to have some self-respect. I got to say, no, I can't keep doing this. I can't let you keep doing this. I can't keep rescuing you. I can't keep putting myself in harm's way to try to keep you from doing the same thing you're going to turn around and do at the end of the day. So, but love with boundaries becomes self-respect. Hey, cuz Robina. So let's talk about the root of why people enable. Specifically, what we technically consider a strong woman. So, I mean, this could be anybody. Anyone can do enabling, males, females, whatever. But generally, when we talk about enabling, the first thing you think about is a woman. Specifically, what we consider a strong woman. And I told y'all about that title. I don't like that title. Hey, Miss Vivian. I don't like that title, because why? When people think you're the strong one, then they automatically assume you never need help. But we're going to get into that here in a minute. So let's talk about that. Many women will enable because they were parentified as children. So what do I mean by that? Meaning that as a child, they were placed in a role where they had to take on the responsibilities that emotionally or practically belong to a parent. So putting it in simple terms, like they had to grow up too fast. Have you ever heard that? Like I had to grow up too fast, or they had to grow up too fast because they had 2 or 3 younger siblings. And so they ended up basically having to parent their siblings. Instead of being cared for, then as a child, they became the caretaker. So that's a lot of the reason why some women enable. Other women can enable because they learn to manage other people's emotions. Okay, so you heard me say that right. They learn to manage other people's emotions. And I'm going to put a word in there. They learn to try to manage other people's emotions, because this is a false sense of control. Why? Because we cannot manage other people's emotions. We can't even manage people. We can manage processes, but not people. We can't manage other people's emotions. No matter how much we think we cannot manage other people's emotions. We can only manage our own. And that's a lot of the problem why people get burnt out with trying to help people, because they are trying to feeling responsible for that person. There's a difference between supporting someone and helping someone than feeling responsible for them. And also there's a difference between caring about how someone feels and trying to manage their emotions. When you're trying to manage somebody else's emotions, you fighting a losing battle right there, because we cannot manage anyone else's emotions. We can only manage our own, which is really hard to do sometimes, depending on what's going on. But many women were praised for like being the strong one, as if being the strong one is a badge of honor. But what happens when you wear that badge? What happens when you wear that cape? At first, it feels affirming. It feels good, that people think that, you're the strong one. But what happens is over time, it can become a role that you start to feel trapped in. You become the safe space for everybody. You become the safe place for everybody. But then you don't feel safe expressing your own pain. You don't feel safe being able to say, I'm having a bad day today. You don't feel safe being able to say, you know what, I can't deal today. Like I can't do this today. You find yourself crying in private. You find yourself processing things alone and not having anybody to talk to. You find yourself minimizing your own struggles. Why? Because you're the strong one. So nobody can see you having a bad day. No one can see that you're going through a hard time, that you're struggling with something. So many women enable because love feels conditional. Wow. We enable because we feel love feels conditional. So when love feels conditional, then enabling becomes a survival strategy. Like conditional love. Let me tell you what it sounds like. Conditional love sounds like, I'm proud of you when you perform. Wow. I love you when you behave. Don't make me mad. Conditional love. You're too sensitive. Conditional love. After everything I've done for you, conditional love. And so the message underneath all of that is, I'm loved when I meet expectations. Woo-wee. I'm loved when I meet expectations. So love doesn't feel secure. It feels like you have to earn it. But sometimes people make you feel like you got to earn their love. So then you feel like you're doing a balancing act and you standing on your head and you juggling balls. You're doing all this stuff to make them happy. Why? Because love feels conditional. So that's some of the reason why women enable, because love feels conditional. We get caught up in these relationships where you feel like you got to bend over backwards, stand on your head, jump over hurdles, jump off the roof, all these things to make someone happy because you feel like you got to earn it. And another reason that many women enable is because chaos feels familiar. That's a good one. Chaos feels familiar. So if you grew up being the fixer, you may now feel guilty when you stop fixing things. When you're the one always having to figure it out, always having to make it happen, always having to come up with a solution to the issue, then you can start to feel guilty when you get to a place to where you're trying to set boundaries and you realize, I need to stop. Now you feel guilty. But guess what? That guilt is just a withdrawal symptom from overfunctioning. And so chaos feels familiar and normal, especially if someone grew up with the following. If you grew up in a household where there was always yelling or conflict in the home, chaos can feel normal. If you grew up in when there was inconsistent affection, like maybe they gave it to you, but if they felt like you wasn't doing something they wanted you to do, then they withhold their affection from you. Inconsistent affection. That's when chaos can start to feel normal. When you have gone through life and it's been crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis, and you feel like your feet are never touching the floor or the ground, like you're constantly reacting to things, but never able to take a breath. Chaos can start to feel normal. When you have to feel like you've been walking on eggshells, like you have to make sure that you don't breathe the wrong way, say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing, or make a mistake, or else, that can make chaos start to feel normal. when you've gone through life with financial instability, like it's always been a financial struggle. Financial instability can start to make chaos feel normal. Another thing that makes chaos feel normal is addiction. Addiction makes chaos feel normal. And so oftentimes when this happens, our body becomes adapted to this chaos, and our nervous system, it learns to stay alert, always on guard, hyper aware, hypersensitive, read the room, constantly reading the room, preparing, bracing for something to happen or to fix it fast. Don't relax too much. Why? Because the next thing is coming. You know, when chaos has become normal, these are the things that go through people's minds. You know, well, I can't relax too much, or I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's too quiet. You know what? I don't know what's going on. It's quiet. Ain't nothing happening. Why? Because chaos feels normal to you. And so when times are actually quiet and it's normal, it feels dysfunctional to you, because that's the state that you've been in. So over time, that state of hyper alertness becomes your baseline. So chaos doesn't feel foreign to you, but peace does. Have you ever seen some people, things can be going really good, really well, nothing happening, everybody getting along and all that, and they can't stand it. So they got to create some type of drama. Why? Because it feels unnatural to them for everything to just be going okay and everybody to be getting along. So they will create some chaos because chaos is normal to them. It feels very uncomfortable when there's peace or when it's quiet. Chaos feels familiar to them. All right. So let's talk more about this enabling and how enabling sort of disguises itself as love. So enabling looks like paying bills for somebody who refuses responsibility, who refuses to pay their own bills. Hey, Miss Monica. Enabling disguises itself as love by excusing addiction, overlooking disrespect. Oh, they didn't mean it, but they've been doing it every day. Repeating the same conversation over and over and over with no change. That's what enabling, how it disguises itself as love. Love doesn't require self-erasure. It doesn't. Self-erasure, that's when a person slowly like minimizes or silences or abandons parts of themselves in order to maintain connection or to avoid conflict. Have you ever found yourself doing things you really didn't want to do, but you did it to avoid conflict or so that you could feel accepted? And self-erasure happens when someone swallows their own opinions to keep the peace. Have you ever done that? Pretend not to be hurt when you know you hurt, but you're pretending not to be hurt. You lower your standards so that whoever will not reject you, that they'll continue to choose you, or you over adjust to someone else's needs. I said over adjust to someone else's needs. Sometimes that happens. And then also avoiding expressing your desires, avoiding expressing your needs and wants for fear of rejection. You stop pursuing what matters to you because it may not be what someone else wants. It becomes easy or low maintenance, or you become the strong one. So you do all of those things to lower your standards. And it sounds like this. Self-erasure sounds like this. Oh, it's fine, even when it's not. How many times do we do that? Or I don't want to argue, or whatever you want. It's giving in. It's not that big of a deal. Brushing things off when we know it really matters to us. So over time, the person will start to disappear in small pieces. That this is what happens when enabling starts disguising itself as love. You eventually when you do all of those things, you will start to disappear in small pieces, and then you'll look up and not even know who you are. But let me tell you, you are not someone else's consequence manager. There is a difference between enabling and supporting. Okay? There's a difference. I'm going to say that again. There is a difference. Somebody put that in the chat. There is a difference between supporting and enabling. So support says, I believe you're capable. Enabling says, I don't trust you to handle this. Supporting allows for the discomfort, but enabling prevents growth. Woo-wee. My goodness. So when you support someone, you understand that sometimes some things are going to be uncomfortable. You're going to recognize that in order for some people to grow or for things to grow, certain things have to happen that's not going to feel pleasant. And that's okay. But enabling wants to prevent those things from happening. Growth requires friction. Maturity requires responsibility. Woo. And how can someone grow if they're never responsible for themselves? Because let's be honest, part of the reason why we have issues with setting boundaries is because it's a fear. There's a fear behind setting boundaries. And fear sounds like this. What if they leave? What if they get mad? Well, what if they struggle? Well, I don't want them to have to struggle like I struggle. Or what if I look selfish for doing this? But instead of looking at it in that manner, which enables enabling behavior, you can reframe it. Here's how you reframe it. So if someone leaves because you require respect, then they were the ones who were benefiting from you not having any boundaries. Because let's be honest, the only people who have problems with you having boundaries are the people who benefit from you having none. Whee! Wow. I say that all the time in counseling. When people get mad at you for creating boundaries, those are the very ones who are benefiting from you not having any. Why? Because healthy relationships understand boundaries are necessary. Boundaries are necessary. You set boundaries, you find peace. Because boundaries don't push away healthy love. They expose unhealthy attachment. Whew. Somebody ought to put that in the chat. Boundaries. Boundaries. In 2026, I need to implement healthy boundaries. Somebody ought to just say that to yourself. I'm going to implement healthy boundaries in my life in 2026. So let's talk about how do you practice love with boundaries, since we on that subject. One is you can pause before you start rescuing. Because we have this tendency when things start to happen. Let me say this. Some of us are addicted to helping people. Yep, I said it. Some of us are addicted to helping people. Have you ever just had somebody come to you and talk to you about a situation that they're going through? They didn't ask you for your help. They didn't ask you to do anything. And immediately, when they're telling you, you already trying to figure out, okay, well, let's do this. We need to do this. You need to do this, do that, and the other. They didn't ask you for all that. Sometimes they just coming to you to vent. But when you're a person who's addicted to helping or addicted to rescuing people, that's how we get burnt out, y'all. That's how we get burnt out. That's how we get frustrated. That's how we get overwhelmed, because we automatically go into fix-it mode. And sometimes we just need to pause before we even start getting our hands dirty and ask them, that sounds tough. Like, how are you going to fix that? Well, what have you thought about what you're going to do about it? That's you showing up. That's you supporting the person without enabling them. That's you supporting them without rescuing them. It's okay to do that. A lot of things, if we just stop and pause before we start acting, we can save ourselves a whole lot of extra trouble, a lot of extra drama, a lot of energy, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all that. Why? Because everything and everybody is not your assignment. And I know we love to throw that out there, but why is it we can say it, but our actions don't show that? Because as soon as somebody comes to us with an issue, we automatically trying to fix it. Like we're Olivia Pope or somebody. So pause before rescuing. And then ask yourself, is this mine? Is this mine to carry? Is this mine to carry? Let people experience natural consequences. You can look back over your life, and some of the most growth, productive growth that you've had, or effective growth that you had in your life, is when you did something or you made a mistake and you had to learn from it. You grow a little bit. But if you're always rescuing people from having to when they make a mistake, from being able to experience their natural consequences of it, how will they ever learn? How will they ever grow? And they will get frustrated because they keep doing the same thing over and over. Well, they keep doing the same thing over and over because they've never had to deal with the consequences of those decisions. And also, we have to stop over-explaining. How do you practice love with boundaries? You got to stop over-explaining. You don't have to go over the river and through the woods telling somebody why you're not going to loan them this money for the 30th time after they done went and blew it. They done went and blew theirs, and here you are spending 10 minutes explaining to them why you're not going to loan them money again for the 30th time. No, we got to stop over-explaining. No, I'm not going to loan it to you. Nope. I've done it too many times before. You have to figure something out. Sorry. But you know what? I can give you a referral to somebody that can help you manage your money. That's me supporting without getting involved. Another thing, love with boundaries. Stay calm. Stay calm. Stay consistent. You don't have to get in an uproar. You don't have to just spaz out and completely fall apart. Just stay calm. It's okay to stay calm. They might get upset because you're setting boundaries with them, but you don't have to. Because you can expect emotional pushback when you start to implement boundaries. But guess what? They're necessary. If you want to maintain your peace, boundaries are necessary. And already expect emotional pushback because it's coming. Why? Because they've been benefiting from you all this time, not having any. So you think they're going to be happy about you implementing boundaries now? No, they're not going to be happy about it. But guess what? They'll get over it. And if they don't, remember, you're not responsible for managing their emotions. Remember, love is not measured by endurance. It's not measured by how long you can stick with the dysfunction. Love is measured by how well you protect what's sacred. And when I say what's sacred, what do I mean by that? Your peace. Somebody put that in the chat. My peace is sacred. My peace. You cannot put a price tag on peace. Cannot. And I find the older that I get, the things that I want, people ask me, what do you want for your birthday? What do you want for this? What do you want for that? Peace. Can't put a price tag on it. Because I can have all the money in the world. But if I don't have any peace, probably not going to be in my right mind to spend it. Or if I do, it'll be frivolous. But my peace is sacred. My health is sacred. That's where all of these blood pressure problems, blood sugar and strokes and heart attacks and ulcers And all of this stuff come from no peace. No peace. But my health is sacred. My identity is sacred. Why? Because you can lose your identity because you're addicted to helping everybody. You look up, you over here, you're being this to this, but you're doing this, you know. I'm not saying don't help anybody. Please do not misunderstand me when I say that, because I'm a helper too. But you got to discern when you're helping and when you're enabling. There is a difference. And you can lose yourself in this if you're not careful. Also, what's sacred? My standards. I'm not going to lower my standards. I may lower my expectations because I see you. But my standards will not be lowered. There's a difference. Somebody put there in the chat, I'm not lowering my expectations. I'm lowering my expectations, not my standards. Not lowering my standards. And so, as a licensed professional counselor, you know, I often see resentment. I get this a lot. I see resentment in the helper who's generally sitting in my chair, and immaturity in the person that's being enabled. And so when we enable, what happens is we freeze this other person emotionally. Wow. When we enable, we freeze the other person emotionally. We become the regulator for somebody who refuses to regulate themselves when we enable. Ooh, oh my gosh, this is so good. I'm eating my own food today. We become the regulator for someone who refuses to regulate themselves. And that's not partnership. That's not supporting. That is now you parenting. And a lot of times we're trying to parent grown folks. We're trying to parent adults. I see you, Miss Dee Dee said she lost connection. Hopefully you back. But we start to try to parent adults. And that's where it becomes enabling. And we want to love deeply. I don't want you to think that I'm telling anyone don't help, don't love, none of those things. Far from it. If that's what you're hearing out of it, then you might need to start back this video from the very beginning, because that is not what I'm saying. We want to love deeply, but we do not want to disappear in the process. We don't want to do that. We want to love with boundaries. Why? Because loving with boundaries, it's not cold. It's maturity. It's being responsible. Love with boundaries is it's security in there. It's regulation, as I said earlier. And sometimes the most loving thing that you can say to someone is, I love you, but I'm not carrying this anymore. I'm not doing God's job, and I'm not doing your job. I support you, but I'm no longer carrying your stuff. Sometimes that's the most loving thing you can do. So as I end this segment, I want you to ask yourself some questions. Where am I over functioning? Where am I doing too much? Who benefits from my lack of boundaries? Who's benefiting from that? From me not having any boundaries, who's benefiting from it? What lesson am I interrupting by constantly rescuing people? What am I afraid is going to happen if I stop? What am I afraid will happen if I just stop enabling and stop rescuing people? Ask yourself, am I loving wisely? Or am I just loving hard? So I want you to take time to think about those things. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in again today. And like I said, I really missed you guys. I'm so glad. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you for taking the time to be here with me on today. I also want to make this announcement as well. The Empower Her Experience 2026 is back this year. So we are doing the next level her. Healing is the upgrade. That is June the 26th and 27th, 2026. Y'all, it's going to be amazing. So be sure that you mark your calendars for June 26th, 27th for the Empower Her Experience. Next level her. Healing is the upgrade. And so thank you as always. I love you for watching. Y'all have a great weekend. I'm going to see you next week. I'll be back next week. But as always, be amazing today. And I love you much. Have a great weekend, everybody. Love you. Bye.